Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good everything. Welcome to Organic Sanskrit 1. How is everyone? I hope everybody's doing well. And we have a lot of material to cover today, so we may or may not get to do some breakout rooms so we can get some good practice. I wonder if people like the breakout room. Should we try to do more of those? Do you find them helpful? If you like them, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't care one way or the other, don't put anything. And if you dislike them, put a 2. Just let me get a sense, because I don't know you all individually, of what you like. Great. There's a couple of responses. So yeah, put a 1 in the chat if you want more of them or if you find them useful. And while you're thinking, I want to make a note about our March 4th class coming up. It is scheduled to begin during the Diamond Mountain retreat, Bridge to the Diamond Way 5. And our tradition tells us that if my teacher is teaching, and my teacher is Geshe Michael, then I don't teach. So I don't have the schedule yet, but I'm writing to find out. And if Geshe Michael is teaching around the time of our Sanskrit class, which is 4 p.m. Arizona time on Wednesdays, then we may need to cancel the class. So stay tuned. I don't want anybody to have to choose between coming to this class and going to Geshe Michael's class. So we will know more soon. Okay, everybody get ready. Open your mics, and we're going to sing the vowel song. All right, open your mics. 1, 2, 3. Uh, uh,
O, I, U, U,
uh,
Lir, Lir,
E,
E, I, O, Au,
yeah, good. One more time.
O,
It,
O,
e,
I,
e,
U, U,
r,
R, Lir, Lir,
e,
E, I, O, Au,
Great. Good job. Let's have the first slide after the title slide. We'll look at the title slide for a moment because it's so beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so today the topic is consonants. Now the next slide. Okay, who remembers what this is?
16 vowels.
16 vowels, exactly. And it's my silly way of remembering because it's a sweet 16 party. So we just recited the 16 vowels. And let's have the next slide. Remember, what does this word mean?
Spara.
Svara, that's right. That was a beautiful pronunciation. Svara. Short vowel, so it's svara. What does it mean? Svara. We don't remember. This is the word that means, let's have the next slide. The sweet 16. It's a Sanskrit word that can mean vowel, which we're using it as, can mean sound in general, can mean breath, and It can mean the vibration of prana in the physical body. And we're going to pay a little bit extra attention to that today. So, Sanskrit is a very special language. It is said that the Buddha spoke only Sanskrit, but every being understood the Buddha when he spoke in their own language. So that's pretty cool. And we already learned the primal sound of Sanskrit. And that sound is right? Not ah, and it's the vowel, the first vowel A, we say in English. And we learned how many of the vowels, the other vowels, come from this vowel, starting with the sacred bija syllable, om, aum, and the a, I, o, ow, they all come from So they come from this one sound, and that's the primal sound. And it's a kind of vibration in the body, right? You can feel it in your throat and maybe through your entire being. So the vowels, the sweet 16, they are the flow of prana, like sound itself, breath itself. They're an unbroken flow of this energy, the vowels. I, u. They're just primal sounds. And they come through the medium of the body, using the voice, the lungs, the mouth. And consonants, which we're going to take up today, consonants break the flow of this svara, of this flow and vibration of prana in the body. They break it up into little pieces. We can see this when we pronounce each consonant, which is attached, of course, with its automatic sound, because Sanskrit is an abugida, not an alphabet. So every consonant has attached to it the sound Let's have the next slide, please. So the consonants stop this flow. Now, we're taught in our tradition that we perceive objects that seem to be outside of us when a luminous seed in our mind opens based on our past actions, and it drapes itself in like a silver luminous way over some colors and shapes that our eyeball is feeding to our brain, that our eyeball is perceiving. So is everyone familiar with this idea of how seeds open? Sometimes, yes, good. Sometimes we call this the pen story, right? Yes, good. So we're also taught that when we name the luminous image, when we put a name on it, when we label it, only then do we perceive the object, the thing, the drum, the cup, the pen. Do I have a pen? No. Only when we label it and name it do we perceive it. Do we know what it is? Can we use it then? So when we chop up the svara, the pranic flow of breath and sound, we stop the flow with consonants and we make words, right? It's how we objectify our reality. Next slide, please. So here's a lovely Sanskrit word. And sorry about the Devanagari, the Sanskrit 2003 font is not coming through consistently. So this is a word that's made up of this prefix ve. You see it there. And the word, I'm going to say this correctly, I hope, anjana, anjana. Everybody open their mics and say anjana.
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 Anjana. Anjana.
Anjana.
Anjana.
Good. What? Oh, well, we don't know that yet. Okay, we'll learn very quickly what this is all about. But I want to point out here that this prefix ve can mean two things in Sanskrit. It either means very much or not at all. Welcome to the joys of Sanskrit. Here it means very much. When we combine the I in vi with the in anjana, we have to change the way we write it. So you see on the top transliteration in I asked that it's written correctly. Vyanjana. So the vi and the anjana turn into a vyanjana. So everybody open their mics again and say it, understanding why it's that way.
Vyanjana.
Vyanjana. Anjana.
Vyanjana.
Vyanjana. Vyanjana. Anjana. Vyanjana.
See, it's not vyanjana. No, there's no pause in between. Vyanjana.
Vyanjana. Vyanjana. Vyanjana. Vyanjana. Vyanjana.
Perfect.
Vyanjana.
So in Sanskrit, even though it's vi and anjana, we can't write it that way. It's a sound-based language. So we have to change the way we write it to reflect the way it sounds to the Sanskrit ear. So the I in front of another vowel turns into a ya. And we say vyanjana. Don't you think it sounds better? Vyanjana than vyanjana. It's much smoother, vyanjana. Okay, so we're going to be changing the way we write words based on the way they sound to the Sanskrit ear. But when you're trying to figure out what it means, you have to take it apart. So you realize there's a prefix and a basic word there. Okay, so we just had our first example of this way of combining sounds into written form in Sanskrit. And we will see many, many more. Okay, so anjana generally means a black ointment, a black sort of gel or thick liquid. And it's used in an everyday sense to line your eyes, like a makeup that a woman, or these days many men also, use to line their eyes. Eyeliner is the English word for that. So let's see. I hope the translators are doing okay with eyeliner. But it has another meaning in Sanskrit, which is to make clear in the sense of outlining. So you can see the relationship between the black ointment used to outline the eyes and to make clear or obvious by drawing a line around something or to outline something. Yeah. And we're going to use this meaning. It also can mean to make manifest. And we just saw that consonants make that shapeless flow of sound into discrete entities that are words and become labels for objects. Okay, so Vyanjana means to deeply manifest or outline or make something clear. So it takes the flow of sound and makes it clear into definite different things. And the V means very much so. So it's eyeliner for the vowels. Consonants, they are eyeliner for the vowels. Let's have the next slide. So here's a 5x5 grid, and it's something that you will be using a lot in the next few weeks. You might want to make your own copy of it so you can practice some of the consonants that we're going to learn today. And we're going to use this grid to understand a great deal about the main 25 consonants in Sanskrit. And we're going to start today. And we're going to talk about the basic consonant sounds now. So let's have the next slide. Here they are. You see that there are 5 rows and 5 columns. And I put some numbers on the left, which we'll talk about in a moment. But going left to right, this is the order that you learn them in. It's alphabetical order in Sanskrit. So K is the first consonant. And K is the 17th letter, well, more or less 17th in the Sanskrit alphabet, because the 16 vowels come first. And then the consonants start. So if you look up anything in the dictionary, K is going to be near the beginning of the dictionary in the Sanskrit to English or Sanskrit to German or Russian or Vietnamese dictionary. And let's see. We don't really have a song for the consonants, you'll be glad to know, but we do want to learn to recite them in order, because the more you can internalize them and the order they come in, the better able you will be to understand words and certainly pronunciation as we learn more. And of course, each consonant, which I did not put on this chart, is supposed to come attached to an automatic sound. So normally in a grammar book, you will see them written with a like k, but I didn't put that in this chart. We'll have one in a later chart. So some of these letters and letters look very similar. For instance, in the last column, there are 4 N's. And in the 3rd and 4th rows, those letters look very similar. And we're going to learn what the differences are. Let's go into that now. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a new word for you. Varga. Everybody open their mics and say Varga.
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 And this
Varga.
word means category or class. How many long vowels in this word?
0.
0. Very good.
0, yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's have the next slide and hear the consonants again. And we are going to recite them. Now, the numbers on the left represent the varga that row of consonants is in. The first varga, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And these represent the way we're going to pronounce them. So let's have the next slide. These again are the main 25 with some additional characteristics describing them. The first varga has 2 hard letters. You see the green ones are the hard letters. This will be important later. And the last, the blue letters, the last 3 columns are soft letters. And the first column down, those are all unaspirated letters, which means you don't add a breath sound to them when you say them. The second column down are aspirated. So if you look at the first 2 letters there, you see that the first one doesn't have an H, but the second one does. In the IAST system of transliteration, we add an H to each consonant that is aspirated. And you see there's another set of aspirated letters in the 4th column down. So 2 columns of unaspirated, 2 columns of aspirated, and the 5th column are the nasal letters. So these are the ones that have more of a nasal sound. And we just saw one of them in Andrana. Do you hear how nasal that is in Sanskrit? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. And here's one that you're very familiar with. But now you will see that the first varga is related to the first mouth position. So all those consonants are pronounced with your tongue in the guttural position. And that means, just to remind you, that you fold it in half and stick it down the back of your throat. So if we return to the previous slide briefly, let's say that first varga in the guttural position, first mouth position, with the sound. Let's say kha, kha. Open your mics and say kha, kha.
Ka.
Ka.
Ka. Ka.
Yeah.
Ka.
K.
Ka.
Ka.
Now this one, that nasal is hard. Fold your tongue, stick it in the back of your throat and say nga.
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 These are first varga nasal. So we'll say that row once again. Yeah, not na, no.
Nga.
No. No.
So let's say it all 5 with ha, ka, ga,
Ga. Ga.
Ka. K, G, G, Ng.
And do you see the difference between K and K? There's a breath sound there. So it's K, K, and then G, G. So make an exaggerated breath sound. We'll say it one more time. K,
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 G, G, Ng.
Very good. All right, let's have the second slide again with the mouth.
Christina, can you
Yes.
repeat the blue ones?
Yes.
Again? The blue ones, because I couldn't hear.
Yeah, those are just like the first two columns, they're unaspirated and aspirated. So it's G, G, N.
Oh. Okay.
G, N. Okay.
G.
G,
G,
Ng.
yeah.
K, no.
G.
And actually, I should mention that the green letters are hard and the blue letters are soft. However, that does not really affect their modern pronunciation. That is a characteristic that we will use much later, maybe not even in Organic Sanskrit 1, for sandhi, which is the way you combine sounds. So it's going to make a difference if a hard letter has sandhi, whether what you change it into. But don't worry about that now. But it's good to remember and to have a presentation early in your studies that there are hard letters and soft letters. Okay. All right, let's go back to the mouth positions. Slide, next slide. Yeah. The second varga is the palatal position and the palatal mouth position. And just to remind you, that is where you fold your tongue flat and pull it back in your mouth and put it up against the roof of your mouth where that little bump is near the back. So let's return to the consonant slide and we'll say the second varga consonants with a palatal tongue position. Previous slide. Yeah. So, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but the first one in varga 2 is kra and then kra. So keep your tongue on that bump in the back of your mouth up on the roof with it folded flat. Kra, kra. Say with me. Kra,
K,
dra,
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 Nga,
No.
kra, kra, dra, dra, na.
Cha, Nga.
Great. Very good. And that the first letter in the second varga looks like in English and or most European languages C, which can have different pronunciations, but it's very easy because we can remember that when you see a C like that, it's always pronounced cha. And there are words like chakra, chakra is okay. And there's a very subtle difference between the first and second letters in the second varga. And as we are going to be speaking more Sanskrit, it's almost impossible for us modern people to make a difference in those two sounds because the first one is cha and the second one is kra, kra, kra. It's hard to difference between them, but you know intellectually what the difference is. So that's helpful. Okay. All right, let's go back to the mouth positions. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes. What?
I'm sorry. The difference between the two blue ends, I heard are like the same. I mean,
The blue ones?
exactly the N in the first Varga and the N in the second one, for me, sounded the same.
Great question. They do sound very similar to a Western ear. But remember where your tongue is in each of those two different positions. In the first N, your tongue is guttural, so it's folded in half and jammed in the throat. So it's "nr." Say "nr" with as far back as you can. Yeah. Second Varga, the nasal has the tongue flat up against the roof of your mouth and pulled back. Na. It's a very subtle difference. Very subtle. I agree.
No.
For English, well, for speakers of Western languages, we're going to say the first three N's pretty similarly, even though as students of Sanskrit, we now know the precise difference between them, but it's very hard for a Western ear to hear that. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay, great
Clear.
question.
Thank you.
Yes, now let's, they're back to the mouth. So the third position, the third Varga, is cerebral. And this is where you stick the tip of your tongue straight up against the roof of your mouth and pronounce things. So let's go back to the consonants and say the third Varga. With your tip the tip of your tongue pointing straight up to the roof of your mouth into your brain, the cerebral position. Ka, ta, da, da, na. So say that with me.
Ta, ta,
Ta, ta,
da,
da,
na.
da.
Right? So the three nasals so far in order going down are na, na, na. Very hard to hear a difference among those three, but my tongue was in a different place for each one. So you can say them, practice them, saying them exaggeratedly and correctly, and understand the difference, at least intellectually, if not orally. Okay. So this Varga, the third Varga, the cerebral position, is where those are, we as students, Western language speakers, as students of Sanskrit, can make the most difference in our correct pronunciation of Sanskrit, because we can more easily say ka, ka, ga, ga, na, and distinguish that from our normal way of saying these letters. Okay, let's go back to the mouth positions again. So the fourth Varga is the dental Varga. And this one I like to say is most like most Western languages. So going back to the consonants, let's pronounce the fourth Varga consonants. Just sort of with the tip of your tongue against the bump behind your front teeth. Ta, ta, da, da, na. With me now. Ta,
Ta, no.
so those should sound pretty familiar to your ears because it's very much like our Western sounds. And the same with the fifth Varga. What, yeah, question? No, okay. Let's look at the fifth varga, mouth position, in the next slide. The fifth varga is the labial position, and this means that you're going to use your lips in some way as we pronounce these letters. So going back one more time, we see p, p,
pa, 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 ma.
yeah, more of a sound.
Ma, ma, ma.
And those should feel pretty comfortable. So those, wait, go ahead, question? Okay. Those are the main 25 consonants in Sanskrit. So there are 8 more, which we'll get to, I don't think today, but soon. And that's the total amount of consonants, 25 plus 8. Somebody do the math for me. 33.
33.
Not good at math. Okay, great. Let's go 2 slides forward. Yeah. So there are a few weird letters, and Irta has beautifully made sure that my drawings occur in the right place. Sometimes the who's not muted. Okay, great. Somebody who's in a machine shop somewhere. So the 4 N's, we've gone over the pronunciation and how they may sound similar to us, although our tongue positions are different when we're pronouncing them. But they are according to their varga, and we know how to say each varga now. And look at the marks on them. This is the IAST diacritical system. And it's why I like it so much, because with the different marks on the different letters, you will know exactly which Devanagari letter you are looking at, because they're unique. If they have a mark on them, and those marks are called diacritical marks, that means that they're a very specific letter. The ones without diacritical marks are just uniquely the same. But since there are 4 different N's, we don't have a Roman alphabet way of differentiating among the N's. So we have to put marks on the different ones. So the first varga, N, Ra, has a dot on top of it, not underneath. The second varga, N, has a tilde above it, and that will always be a second varga, N. The third varga is interesting, and it's sort of another gimme, a gift, a free gift of Sanskrit. Anytime you see a letter with a dot underneath it, it's going to be third varga. So that's easy to remember. So far, go ahead, question? So far then, the only marks that don't indicate third varga are the first and second varga nasals. So those are the only ones you're going to have to remember diacriticals for so far. There will be a couple more in the remaining 8. And I already talked about that second varga hard unaspirated letter, which is the first column. That is always pronounced cha. So we know the words in Sanskrit. You have probably heard them. Chakra, there's chitta. Chitta means mind. It's one of the words for mind. Bodhicitta, and so forth. So that's also easy. And the difference between the second varga, the first two letters, kra or kra, is very hard for an English or a Western language ear to hear the difference. So don't worry too much, but you'll know that those are two different letters. Okay. Yeah. And I guess
Label.
Question? No. I guess I could say that the first, fourth, and fifth vargas are, for the most part, pronounced the most like Roman Western languages, certainly English, except for the nasals. But the k and the d and the p, those are pretty much like Roman sounds, English sounds. Okay, so now we know the exact pronunciation of the consonants, the 25 main consonants. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, you've seen this before, and this is a verse from the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And we're going to recite these a couple of times. Let me do it first with the drum and pay attention to the vowels, which ones are long and which ones are short. Just to remind you, the long simple vowels have markers on them, but A, I, O, and OW are always long, so they don't have any markers. So let's recite this. Well, I'll say it first without the drum. Na kinchidaste tadvastu yad apyasasya dushkaram. Tasman mardu vyad abhyasat sodhavyapi mahavyata. Okay, I'll do it with the drum so you can see the lengths. Na kinchidasti tadvastu yad abhyasasya dushkaram. Tasman mritu vyad abhyasat sodhavyapi mahavyata. So you see that it doesn't have accents, but it has held vowels and vowels that are short. So let's recite this together, and we will take half of the verse and work with that first. So, na kinchidaste.
Na kinchid.
Na kinchidaste.
Kinchidaste.
Tadvastu.
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 Now all together. Na kinchidasti tadvastu.
Na kinchidaste.
That's the first half of the first verse, first line in the verse. Then we say, yad abhyasasya.
Yad
Abhyasasya.
Yad
Abhyasasya.
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 Yeah.
Yad abhyasasya.
Abhyasasya.
All the Russians can say abhyasasya easily. Other languages, not.
Abhyasasya.
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 Perfect. Dushkaram.
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 Pushkaram.
Now the next line, the first half or part of the first half is Tasman Merdu.
Tasman
Madu.
Madu.
Now look at that R. That's a vowel. So
Tasman Merdu. Merdu.
remember when we sing the vowel song, it's er. So we just put that sound in there. Merdu. It's very that R or that vowel. It's not difficult at all, right? Once you know what you're doing. So Tasman Merdu.
Tasman Madu.
Vyat Yasat. Yes, so those are three long. So let's pronounce the whole first half.
Madu.
Yes, that's great. And you see the way it sounds when you have longs and shorts combined. It's not an accent, it's a lengthening or shortening, so that it's almost like a song. Tasman merdu fyad yasat. Okay, now the second half. Remember the long vowels that are gimmies. Sodhavyape mahavyata. Yes. Sodhavyape mahavyata. All right, now we'll say the whole second line together. I mean, I'll say it first, then you can say it with me. Tasman merdu vyat avyasat sodavyapi mahavyata. With me. Tasman one more time. Tasman Good. That was very good. Okay. So this verse is very beautiful. It's from chapter 6, verse 14. And you can see those numbers at the end of the second line of the verse. That means chapter 6, verse 14. Thank you. Of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. So here is the translation. There is nothing in the world which does not come easily if you make a habit of it. Make them a habit of bearing the small pains and thus endure the greater. So it's very beautiful and it's good advice. It sort of reminds me of when you go to the gym for the first time and you try and lift weights and it's hard. But if you do it every day or every 2 days, after a month or 2 months, it's easier to lift that same weight, and you can even move on to a heavier weight. So the Master Shantideva here is advising us to practice encountering small pain with grace and bodhisattva, bodhicitta. And then when larger pains come, it will be easier to bear them. And as you know, the top 2 lines are in the transliteration system called IAST, the International Alphabet of Sanskrit Transliteration. And the bottom 2 lines are in Devanagari, which is the native way of writing our Sanskrit. Okay. It would be really nice if you choose to memorize this verse in Sanskrit, especially paying attention to the long and short vowels and the correct pronunciation of the consonants which we have just learned. One good reason to do this, in my experience, is when you tell people you are studying Sanskrit, 90% of them say something for me in Sanskrit. And if you memorize this verse, or even half of it, you can just say it out there and they will be very happy. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Christina, all the Devaganaris that you see are the same, or are there different kind of Devaganaris?
Good question. And also I want to, let's get it's a Devanagari, 3 vowels, which you have no way of knowing because it's not written here anywhere.
Yeah, okay. Devanagari.
Devanagari. Devanagari is always this script. However, Sanskrit has other scripts that it is written in with different names. I'm not remembering them at the moment. There's Newari and Balam, I think Bagam. I'll look it up and report back to you. But they tend to be much older scripts, and I don't read them, but they are still Sanskrit. But our alphabet of choice is Devanagari, and it always has these characters.
It's the most usual or popular in the world right now?
I think it is definitely the most popular in the modern world.
Okay.
If you're going to be looking at older printed books, or certainly at older manuscripts, which are handwritten, you will see other scripts, not Devanagari. But certainly for centuries, it has been the most popular one. And I can look up and see how far back it has been popular. But in our classes, we will only work with Devanagari. And it's great that Devanagari is not the same as Sanskrit. It's just one way of writing it.
Okay, all right.
And in fact,
I think it's enough just to know the Devanagari.
Yes, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, technically, the first 2 lines you see here, which are Ayast, that's Sanskrit. The Devanagari is Sanskrit. So it can be written in any way if it is Sanskrit.
But the pronunciation will be different?
No,
also? Or
it's
the same but different script?
Yeah. And I think in one of our first classes where we had the timeline, we noticed that very ancient Sanskrit is Vedic Sanskrit. And around the time of the Buddha, between 500 and 400 BC, classical Sanskrit came into being. And we saw that languages evolve, like English did, from Chaucer, where Quantat April with it chora solta is English, even though it doesn't really sound like modern English.
Mm-hmm.
Vedic Sanskrit probably sounded considerably different from classical Sanskrit. But we're studying classical Sanskrit because that is at the time of the Buddha, and the Buddha spoke that version of Sanskrit.
Okay.
Okay.
Clear. Great. Thank you.
Great. Yes. All right. Well, we only have a few minutes left, and I don't think we have time for breakout groups. I have a friend who says break up groups, and I keep telling her it's not break up, it's break out.
Breakout.
Something very different in English. It means when you split with your partner or dissolve a partnership or something. So breakout is much more pleasant word. But let's look a little bit at this I asked in this verse. Let's look at the very first letter there. Who can tell what varga that N is? Does it have any marks on it?
The fourth one.
Fourth varga. Perfect. So that is a plain na. Now, what varga is that K?
First.
First.
The first one.
Exactly. And yes, and this is why I'm asking you to memorize those 25 consonants, k, k, g, g, r, so that you'll have them in your mind. And when you see letters in words, you will just know. All right, who can pronounce that third word?
What? Shit.
Shit.
Not id. There's a first consonant is what?
Shit. Oh,
Word of shit. That sounded like a very delicious Spanish accent,
shit.
like a Scottish. Sha. Chid. Chid.
Shit.
Chid. Like the English church.
Chit. Chit. Chit.
Stronger sound. Chid. Not a sound. Chid. Yes. And what kind of a vowel is that in chid? Long or short?
Short.
Sorry. Again?
Palatal?
Short.
What kind of vowel?
Long, short vowel. Yeah.
Short.
Short vowel.
Short vowel. Chid. It's not
Chid.
chid. It's chid.
Okay.
Good. Okay. And let's see. Let's look at that abhyasasya word. How many long vowels in that?
Just one.
Just one. Because
One, yeah.
nothing else is either marked or nothing is a gimme, one of the free vowels that's always long. Good. And what about that S in the last word? What kind of which varga is that? Probably. We haven't studied it yet.
Third one.
Probably the
Could be.
third.
Third one. Third varga.
one,
Anything with
the D.
a dot under it in I asked is third varga.
Mhm.
And this brings us to the next line. What about the second word? What varga is that first vowel in the second word?
The second.
Second word is mrdu.
Four.
I'm sorry?
Three.
Four.
Three. Three.
Why?
Because of dot under.
Anything with a dot under it is going to be the cerebral varga, third mouth position. All right, now let's look at that. There's a wonderful word, sodavyapi. How many long vowels in that word?
2.
Say again.
2.
Which ones?
O.
O,
L.
Yeah. O,
E.
two beats each. Good, good. Now, what about that third letter? What do you notice about that? Sodavyapi.
Third varga.
Third varga, but is it the third letter or the fourth letter in the third varga? Third varga.
The
Fourth.
fourth.
Why do you say that?
It's H there next to it.
Yes. That D and the H, the H, they go together. They represent one letter in Devanagari. But you might think, if you're not being careful, that it's two letters, D and H. But no, almost always when you see a D and an H or a T and an H or a K and an H, it's going to be one Devanagari letter, although there is an H in Sanskrit, and we will learn that next time. Okay, good job. Next week, we will do some breakout groups so you can practice some of these. And I very much encourage you to memorize ka, ka, ga, 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 etc. Memorize those 25 consonants. At least go over them several times, because the more you can internalize them, the much easier it will be for us to read verses and learn words. And it'll just make your lives easier and more fun. So until next time, thank you all. Remember to dedicate your work here today. You are spreading Sanskrit and the Dharma around the world, and it's a wonderful thing you're doing. So please rejoice it. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you, teacher
Thank you.
Christina.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, 老师。